He wasn't just undefeated, he was untouchable. With hands that moved like lightning and a mind even quicker, Floyd Mayweather didn't chase greatness, he engineered it. Every jab was a data point, every round a masterclass in control, where opponents swung at shadows and left the ring humbled, chasing a ghost they could never catch. By the time the final bell rang, they weren't just outboxed, they were outclassed on every level. "50 wins, 0 losses, and dominance across 5 weight divisions. A resume etched in history. And with over $1.2 billion earned, not a single scratch touched the empire he created or the legacy he left untouched. Now, he soars in private jets above the lights of Vegas, cruises through Miami nights in million-dollar Bugattis, and walks the marble halls of mansions lined with luxury, belts, and billions. So, before we unpack the brilliance, the business, and the blueprint of Floyd Mayweather, smash that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell, because this isn't just boxing, this is money. February 24th, 1977 in Grand Rapids, Michigan, Floyd Joy Sinclair was born into a world of struggle, raised in a household where boxing gloves hung heavier than hope. His father, a former welterweight contender, and his uncle, a 2-time world champion, laid the foundation, but Floyd's path was his own. With a mother battling addiction and a childhood marked by poverty, the ring became his escape. By the time he was a teenager, school was behind him. Survival and boxing were all that mattered. And from that storm, a legend emerged. He wasn't just fast, he was untouchable. With a shoulder roll like armor and footwork like smoke, he turned defense into art. He claimed a bronze medal at the 1996 Olympics, but that was just the spark. The real fire came after he turned professional later that same year. He won his first world title in just his 18th fight, stopping Genaro Hernández to become the WBC super featherweight champion. And that was only the beginning. He outclassed Diego Corrales with a masterclass of knockdowns. He neutralized Jose Luis Castillo not once, but twice. He moved up in weight and made it look easy, beating Arturo Gatti so convincingly it bordered on cruel, then walking through Zab Judah's speed and trickery with calculated precision. Oscar de la Hoya fell in a mega fight that crowned Mayweather as boxing's biggest star. And Miguel Cotto, tough, proud, dangerous, was outworked in a battle that reminded everyone Mayweather could brawl and box. Then came the super fights. Manny Pacquiao, the most anticipated bout in decades, neutralized. Berto, outclassed. A young Canelo Alvarez, schooled before he even entered his prime. Floyd made it all look effortless. He didn't just dominate, he transcended the sport itself, turning every bout into a blockbuster and every jab into a brand. As of 2025, he holds an estimated net worth of over $450 million, with career earnings soaring past $1.2 billion. He's not just the face of pay-per-view, he's the architect of his own empire. But how did a kid with nothing carve the blueprint for greatness, fight by fight, dollar by dollar, and retire as the best ever? To find the answer, we have to rewind the clock back to where it all began. On October 11th, 1996, a quiet storm rolled into Las Vegas. A 20-year-old named Floyd Mayweather Jr. stood alone under the lights, with no cheering crowd behind him, no flashy entourage, just a last name borrowed from his father, a dream bigger than his past, and a pair of gloves ready to speak for him. His opponent was Roberto Apodaca, a durable pro, experienced. But experience means nothing when genius walks into the ring. 2 rounds in, Apodaca hit the canvas, dazed and defeated. And though it seemed like just another debut, something different lingered in the air. Boxing hadn't just met another fighter, it had met a disruptor. From that night forward, Mayweather didn't climb the ranks, he glided through them. With every jab, every slip, every shoulder roll, he turned the sport into high art. By the time he had a dozen fights under his belt, Hall of Fame trainers were whispering what the rest of the world was slow to believe. This kid was special. 2 years in, he met his first true proving ground, Genaro Hernández, a beloved world champion, never beaten at super featherweight. This was supposed to be the veteran showcase. Instead, it was a coronation. Floyd painted him apart, round by round, inch by inch. His punches didn't just land, they told a story. And by the 8th, Hernandez's corner had seen enough. Mayweather didn't just win the WBC title. He snatched it from the hands of experience like it was owed to him all along. He was 21 years old, and that was just chapter 1. Angel Manfredi came next, a heavy hitter, dangerous on the inside. He didn't make it out of the second round. Carlos Rios, Justin Jucco, Carlos Jarena, different names, same story. They couldn't touch him. By 1998, the Ring named him Fighter of the Year, but he hadn't even shifted into full gear. Then came Diego Corrales. January 20th, 2001. He was undefeated, 33 wins, 27 knockouts. Taller, longer, meaner. Many believe this was the fight that would humble Mayweather. Instead, it was the fight that made him immortal. From the opening bell, Floyd moved like he had seen the future and was simply following the steps. He dropped Corrales 5 times. 5. In the 10th round, Corrales' corner had no choice. They threw in the towel. The boxing world sat stunned. The numbers said it best. Corrales landed 60 punches in 10 rounds. That's 6 punches a round. Against any other fighter, he was a monster, but against Floyd, he was lost in the fog. But even legends find turbulence. Later that same year, Mayweather moved up to lightweight and faced Jose Luis Castillo. Rugged, durable, relentless. Floyd entered the fight injured, his shoulder torn. He won a close, unanimous decision, but fans weren't convinced. Some said he lost. Some said Castillo exposed him. Floyd heard the noise. Then, 6 months later, silenced it. Healthy and dialed in, he dominated Castillo in the rematch. Pure control. No debate. No controversy. Just another lesson in boxing geometry. Next, he climbed again, to light welterweight. And in 2005, he stood across from Arturo Gatti, the people's champ, a warrior baptized in blood and grit. But Floyd wasn't interested in drama. He wanted closure. He picked Gatti apart with surgical precision, forcing a stoppage after 6 rounds. That night, he didn't just defeat a fan favorite. He deconstructed a myth. Then came the age of superstardom. Oscar de la Hoya, the Golden Boy, the biggest name in boxing. This was the fight that changed everything. It wasn't just about belts anymore. It was about power, ownership, and empire. The build-up was electric. The event? Record-breaking. Over 2.4 million pay-per-view buys, the most in history at the time. Inside the ring, it was tense, tactical, tight. Floyd edged it by split decision, capturing De La Hoya's WBC light middleweight title. But the bigger victory? Control. Floyd walked away not just as champion, but as the face of boxing. And he was just getting warmed up. In December 2007, he met Ricky Hatton, an undefeated British bulldog with relentless pressure and a nation behind him. Floyd weathered the early storm, made adjustments, and in the 10th round, delivered a counter left hook so perfect it sent Hatton crashing into the ring post, then tumbling to the canvas. Knocked out cold, retired at 39-0. Untouched, unbothered, and unmatched. But greatness doesn't sleep. In 2009, he returned to dismantle Juan Manuel Marquez, a future Hall of Famer, like he had never left. Then came Shane Mosley in 2010. Mosley stunned him with a flush right hand in round 2. Floyd wobbled. It was the closest he'd ever been to disaster. But he recovered like a machine. For the next 10 rounds, Mosley couldn't touch him. Floyd adjusted, adapted, and reminded the world that even when vulnerable, he was still untouchable. In 2012, Miguel Cotto brought grit, size, and heart. It was one of Floyd's most physical battles, one where he bled, where he had a fight. But once again, precision beat power. Cotto gave him a fight. Mayweather gave him a lesson. And still, one shadow loomed large. Manny Pacquiao. For years, fans begged for it. The build-up lasted nearly half a decade. And on May 2nd, 2015, the world finally got its answer. The biggest fight in boxing history, $400 million in revenue for 0.6 million PPV buys. The bout was tense, strategic. Mayweather didn't engage in war. He dismantled. He shut down angles, made Manny miss, controlled the pace. Pacquiao claimed a torn shoulder after the fight, but the truth was plain. Floyd had solved the riddle before Manny ever stepped into the ring. By now, he was 48-0. Now came the history. His 49th opponent? Berto. Critics scoffed, but Floyd was never fighting Berto. He was fighting the number 49, and he did it with style. Controlled, measured, flawless. 49-0, tied with Rocky Marciano. Another retirement. Another chapter closed. But the book wasn't finished. August 2017, one final act in a career defined by precision and spectacle. Floyd Mayweather versus Conor McGregor. Boxing versus MMA. The purists scoffed, but the world tuned in, and the numbers didn't lie. Fans bought into the hype, and Floyd, ever the master strategist, orchestrated it like a symphony. He allowed McGregor to win the early rounds, to throw and miss, to punch himself into exhaustion. Then, right on cue, Floyd shifted gears, and by the 10th round, the outcome was inevitable. A flawless TKO, the perfect farewell, 50 wins, 0 losses, and $300 million added to the empire. No fighter in history had done it like this. 5 weight divisions, 15 major world titles, an undefeated record, over $1.2 billion earned, the highest-selling fights in history, and a legacy that turned the sweet science into a business empire. He didn't just master boxing, he mastered control, over opponents, over promotion, over money, over legacy. But here's the thing about legends. They never walk away quietly. So now, one final question remains. Was 50-0 the final chapter? Or is Floyd Mayweather still scripting his greatest move outside the ropes? Stay tuned, because when it comes to Floyd, the fight never really ends. But even after hanging up the gloves, Mayweather wasn't done performing. He simply stepped into a different kind of ring, one where the lights were brighter, the stakes theatrical, and the audience even larger. In 2008, the world watched in disbelief as Mayweather leapt over a WWE barricade, brass knuckles and bravado in hand, to break the nose of wrestling giant Big Show and ignite one of WrestleMania's most unforgettable showdowns. He wasn't just fighting anymore. He was performing, and the crowd, whether cheering or booing, couldn't look away. At WrestleMania Ziv, Floyd's undefeated streak moved from canvas to spectacle, knocking out Big Show in a no disqualification match that earned him a staggering $20 million payday and a place in pop culture history. Yet the squared circle wasn't his only detour. He also danced under glittering ballroom lights on Dancing with the Stars, partnered with Karina Smirnoff, showing fans a softer, surprisingly nimble side before bowing out mid-season. And when he returned to WWE's Raw a year later, it was with even more swagger, interfering in matches, handing out brass knuckles like candy, and sparking chaos that felt tailor-made for his flair. Whether it was wrestling legends or TV audiences, he knew how to command attention without ever needing a title on the line. The question was no longer if he could entertain, but whether he'd ever stop. Because the truth about Floyd Mayweather isn't just found in his flawless record or billion-dollar empire. It lives in the quiet moments behind the spotlight, in the spaces between the belts, where fame collides with fatherhood, and love often arrives wrapped in complexity. He's never been married, not once. But his journey with love has been marked by deep ties and real loss. His longest, most complicated chapter was with Josie Harris, the mother of 3 of his children. Their relationship was fiery, passionate, but painful. It made headlines for all the wrong reasons. Yet beneath the surface was a connection that never fully broke. When Josie passed away in 2020, the loss hit Floyd harder than any opponent ever could. Then there was Melissa Brim, the mother of his daughter Yana. Their relationship had its own storms, but they found a way to co-parent, even as Floyd stepped into a father figure role for Melissa's son Devian, raising him like his own. Chantel Jackson, Gallienne Avila. Other names came and went, captured by cameras, but never sealed with commitment. Yet for all the romantic chaos, his heart has always come back to his children. There have been rifts, public ones, tensions, distance, but Floyd's message has remained steady. He wants his kids to be grounded, respectful, and self-made. What happens when the man who built his image on control finds his life unraveling in the public eye? For all of Floyd Mayweather's brilliance inside the ropes, outside the ring, chaos often loomed like a shadow. Fame gave him everything: money, power, a seat at the table of immortals. But it also magnified his mistakes. And when the cameras weren't capturing perfection, they were recording something far darker. In June 2012, Mayweather reported to the Clark County Detention Center to serve a 90-day jail sentence for domestic battery. It was the culmination of a long, disturbing pattern, an incident in which he assaulted his former partner, Josie Harris, in front of their children. He served 2 months and walked free in August, but the damage lingered. Between 2002 and 2005, he faced several charges involving women and nightclub altercations, pleading no contest, receiving suspended sentences, undergoing counseling. Each time, the headlines grew heavier, the legacy more complicated. Then came 2015. Just days after the biggest win of his career over Manny Pacquiao, Josie Harris filed a $20 million defamation suit against him, claiming he lied in a TV interview by painting her as a drug addict and rewriting the events that landed him behind bars. As his boxing empire grew, he also found himself entangled in the world of crypto. In 2018, he was fined by the SEC for failing to disclose payments for promoting fraudulent ICOs. Another class action suit followed in 2022 involving Ethereum Max, placing him on a list of celebrity defendants promoting digital tokens now under scrutiny. When the final bell rings and the gloves come off, most boxers fade into quiet retirement. But Floyd Mayweather Jr. didn't just walk away from the ring. He turned his undefeated record into an empire, and his empire into a lifestyle so extravagant, it almost feels fictional. He doesn't drive, he glides, behind the wheel of machines that most people will only ever see in magazines. His garage is less a collection and more kingdom. From 3 Bugatti Veyrons to the ultra-rare Koenigsegg CCXR Tre Vita, one of only 2 in the world. Every car gleams like a trophy. Rolls-Royces? He has over a dozen. Lamborghinis, Ferraris, McLarens, they sit side by side in showrooms he calls garages. Some never even touched asphalt. But what's speed without flight? Eric Mayweather, his $50 million Gulfstream G650, doesn't just get him from coast to coast. It's a 5-star suite at 40,000 feet, complete with gold accents, plush leather, and a second jet trailing behind for his entourage. If the air isn't enough, the sea waits. His yacht, reportedly worth $200 million, hosts sunset parties on the water where the champagne flows as easily as the waves beneath it. Then there's the shine, because what's a king without his crown? On his wrist sits the billionaire watch, an $18 million timepiece drowning in over 260 carats of diamonds. On his fingers, VVS rings that can blind under nightclub lights. One shopping trip in Los Angeles saw him drop nearly $6 million on just jewelry. Chains so heavy they were like armor, diamonds that glitter like knockout punches. And through it all, the homes. From a $25 million mansion in Beverly Hills to a 25,000 square foot fortress in Las Vegas. Each one more like a luxury resort than a residence. But beyond the marble floors and mirrored ceilings, these spaces are headquarters for the money team. A brand, a lifestyle, a legacy in motion. Because for Floyd Mayweather, living well isn't just a reward, it's the mission. Before you go, don't miss out on exclusive perks. Click the link in the description to become a channel member and enjoy awesome benefits, like suggesting future video topics, getting early access to new content 48 hours before anyone else, and much more. Your support means the world and helps us keep bringing you the stories you love. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe for more amazing content. And while you're here, why not check out our deep dive into Deontay Wilder's video? Trust me, you won't want to miss it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.